Today's edition of Mac Voices is supported by MacVoices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like Mac Voices, MacVoices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at macvoices.com/magazine or search for MacVoices Magazine on Flipboard. And by the Mac Voices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to stay up to date on all the Mac Voices news. Subscribe from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Welcome back to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, just like you, we like to play with new toys, and there's one toy store that is always one of my favorites to visit, and that's the toy store at Boinx Software, because they're always coming up with cool new stuff. Oliver Breidenbach is back again from Boinx to tell us about mimoLive. Oliver, it's great to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jack, for having me on the show. As always, it's going to be great fun, I think.
It always is. And, you know, maybe I do a disservice because you don't produce toys. I tend to think of them as toys because I love them so much. They're cool, and they let me express myself and do things I can't do with anything else. But that doesn't mean you don't get a lot of work done with them either.
Yeah, but you know, that's I think we think of our apps as creative toys, and in a way, but with we always aim for also being able to satisfy the professional needs, and so we want it to be fun. We want it to be playful. We want it to be so that kids can use it and still produce the best possible creative work.
And I think that's an absolutely excellent goal, and I think you achieve it pretty much like 99.9% of the time.
So what's the missing 0.1%?
Well, the missing point, yeah, there's always one. There's always that 0.1 that, you know, we all strive for. So we're going to talk about mimoLive this time, which is while it's a new product name, it's sort of an evolution from a previous Boinx product.
Yes, so previously it was called BoinxTV. It's a multi-in, multi-out live video engine, and that's how we came about with the name. mimoLive, that's the abbreviation, you know, sounding thing, the cool hipster stuff, hipster name for this acronym. And it's the second version, basically the evolution of BoinxTV, but we've added a lot of stuff. The most requested feature, of course, live streaming. We can now stream live directly from mimoLive to Facebook, YouTube, any RTMP server, basically. We are adding new destinations basically all the time. So that's the one big new thing. But since we've shipped mimoLive in April, we've added a ton of new stuff as well. For example, you can use mimoLive now as a camera for a Skype call, or for you know, in your browser. If you're using an app that allows you to select the camera, you can just select mimoLive, and then you can do stuff like you know, add interesting things like the clouds here, or an analog clock, or you can do multi-camera switching, or you can have a lower third, or, you know, whatever you want in the actual video that goes out through Skype or Hangouts or whatever. And you can use that to spice up one-to-one conversations, or you can use it in a webinar platform, for example, that allows you to ingest video through a web app.
So I want to be clear, the effects that you just saw, folks, Oliver's creating those with mimoLive on his side. Those were not my usual lower thirds. So you are using mimoLive right now as your Skype camera input, and you have controls for all of that accessible.
Yes. And I can add, you know, fancy effects like let's do a little it's city lights here, or you know, things like I could do a green screen, for example. The background I have right now is not suitable for green screening, but if I had like a green or uniform colored basically background, I could remove that and have fun with that and put some other background in, so like a logo branding thing.
Right, like I said, toys. Gotta love the
or
toys.
I can do my presentation in the background, which is quite nice. I can.
Yeah, that's true. So, Oliver, you mentioned that this is a streaming product, and you and I have had this discussion, I think, since the second day we met about post-production versus live production. And this seems to, depending on exactly how you would do it, this has the potential to let you sit there and control a live production a lot easier than maybe a lot of other solutions out there, as opposed to trying to piece it all together in post.
Yes, exactly. That is originally the idea behind BoinxTV. So we wanted a live video production system that allowed people to basically do the post-production during recording. And so the goal is not to have any post-production at all. This is suitable for a lot of use cases where I wouldn't say you should try to do for example, a corporate movie, a corporate video with it that you want to put on your website for customers to represent your company. But for example, at school, you want to do a morning announcement, or in the company, you want to put out a weekly blog for your customers. Then actually, producing it live in real time is the most effective way and the most economic way to do it. Post-production, as you know, takes a lot of time. People only watch probably those podcasts. They watch them only once, so they don't have to be perfect. And using mimoLive, they will look very good, and you can produce them very fast and quickly. That's basically what we want to do. And now, if you want to live stream them at the same time, like we did with product announcements. So we did a launch show, inviting the customers for the live event, and quite a few actually joined and watched us unveil mimoLive and give a demo, and they asked questions and we responded and that kind of thing. I think that's a new way of communication between an institution like a corporation or a small business or a church or a school to communicate with their audience.
Live and time shifted. I think we need to differentiate that a little bit, because you're right. Certain events you want to do live, and live, of course, gives the potential for audience interaction of one kind or another. Mm-hmm. But there's also a benefit. I mean, obviously, you're in Germany. I'm on the East Coast of the U.S., so our time zones seldom line up when things are convenient. We usually have to really juggle both our schedules to connect. Mm-hmm. So I'll go. I know you're going to say I sound like I'm trying to get into post-production, and maybe I am. But what kind of output can I get from mimoLive that maybe I can save to YouTube or put on my website, so that people who aren't in my time zone still have access to the content?
So, of course, mimoLive also records to disk. The multiple out part of the name means that we basically have a lot of ways to play the video out. You can do live streaming. You can attach a second screen or a projector and play that out there. You can use an SDI playout to actually ingest the video that mimoLive creates into a broadcast production system, and you can live stream it. You can play it out through a second monitor. You can use SDI and actually play out the video into a into a broadcast system. Or you can record to disk. And recording to disk we actually do with ProRes 422. Also, don't ask me the number, but it's something where we also have the alpha channel. So it's also a very good way to create videos with an alpha channel if you want to. And of course, you can take that video into Final Cut and do your editing. The only thing is, you have to keep in mind is that we only record the down mix. We don't have, if you use multiple cameras, we don't record the separate cameras. We don't only record the down mix. And then you can upload it to YouTube. But if you stream live to YouTube, the cool thing is that actually YouTube records for you on YouTube. So it's basically streaming while you're uploading. So once you're done with the stream, you actually have a YouTube video on YouTube that you can just send people to. So they do the time shifting for you, which is actually quite cool.
That's very cool. And I think that's the way you did the product launch, because I was there for that. And yeah, it works out very well. And that means the product launch then is available, just a few minutes after you shut down.
Basically, you can, we stream it live, but you can start any time, and you can start from the beginning, or you can go in and watch the current live feed. So it's actually very, very nice because basically whenever you get, we send out the URL, and whenever it's convenient for you, you can just click and watch the stream. And if it's time shifted, it's time shifted. So it's basically that. I'm a big fan of it.
I don't think I realized that it had quite that capability, but that's very nice. That's very nice. I want to go back to the recorded part. As you said, you're just recording the down mix. So that means if you put in the clouds or your lower thirds live, that's recorded into the down mix, and that's not something that then I could edit out of in post if I needed to.
Not in the sense that you can say, don't show the lower third.
Right.
But we, of course, mistakes happen, and so sometimes you have to fix it, and then you can just put something over it. So that's what happened to us a couple of times. We had to fix the lower thirds because of typos in the name or whatever, and then we just, just in Final Cut, you just paint something over it. Or you can take out the part where the lower third is shown, maybe because something in the background, maybe the content at that time isn't that hot anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, just want to make sure we get a clear picture here of what you're getting. To me, it's exactly what I would expect, but somebody's going to ask, so now we have that answer.
Actually, a lot of people request that we record the sources. We call them sources. So if you have multiple video ins, multiple cameras, or a feed from a projector or whatever, a presentation, PowerPoint, people ask us if we could record the sources separately, and actually we think it would be a really nice thing. However, it's a lot of data, and it would probably require a very, very, very fast storage system to record all these at the same time. And then we do have to make some trade-offs. We'd like to have the app work on every Mac that you can buy now, and not just the top of the line things.
Yeah, and at some point you have to understand that there are right tools for the right job, and the tool you have built is a streaming tool. It's not a tool that's built to shoot, like you said, multiple cameras and have them available for post-production. If you want to do that, then there are other solutions, but this is an accessible live production tool.
So we have a couple of customers who do multiple camera shoots, and of course you might want to have a backup. So what we recommend is that you record either in the camera if the camera has that capability, or you just, if you have a camera, you just put a recorder in between mimoLive and the camera. And so you have the backup tapes if you need them, or the backup storage. the video backed up if you need it. In some cases, customers require that. But actually, I mean, the sweet spot for mimoLive is where, something happens once, or if you do a podcast or whatever, you can just start over when you screw up. That is much less work and much less time than actually doing post-production.
Let's talk about getting the cameras in. We all know that there are USB webcams like the one that I'm using. Macs have built-in cameras like the one you're using. But how many cameras can I bring into a given Macintosh? And also, we should make very clear, this is a Mac-based production piece of software. Are there any iOS options for cameras or anything else?
Yes. Right now, OS 10 and or macOS, as it's about to be called, and iOS, there's this option that you can hook up your iPhone with a Lightning cable to your Mac, Lightning to USB cable, and you can actually record what's on the screen. And then we have a little utility app called mimoCam that you can run on the iPhone, which does nothing more than just take the camera view and play it full screen without any controls on it. So basically, it gives you an additional camera via Lightning on USB into mimoLive. This is the low-cost basic option right now. There's a lot of latency in that, or maybe not a lot, but it's a little bit of latency there, so it's not really suitable to use the iPhone and the built-in camera to do multi-camera shooting. Although we have now a video delay filter also, so you could sort of tweak it together so that the internal eyesight and the iPhone is in sync, more or less, basically, and use that for a 2-camera shot. Other ways to get cameras into the Mac, and that's your question, is basically USB or Thunderbolt. Those are the two options right now. For Thunderbolt, there's devices like the Blackmagic mini recorder that costs about $150, $160, I think. And it's a HDMI or SDI to Thunderbolt grabber. And we've used 6 of those on our Mac Pro. No, actually 5, because we used one output for the monitor. The Mac Pro has 6 Thunderbolt connections, and you can use 5 of them for bringing in HDMI full HD video cameras. Another option is USB 3 video grabbers, a couple of those coming onto the market. Magwell is one of the suppliers. It's basically a little box that has a USB 3 port and an HDMI or SDI port on the other side. And then you can hook up a camera or any HDMI device basically, and then have the video come into the Mac through USB 3. And that allows you to use, maybe up to 2 or 3 cameras on the MacBook Pro. On the Mac Pro, we have not tried it yet to max it out, but I think it should be 5 or 6 cameras we can use on the Mac Pro. On an iMac 5K, we can probably use 3 or 4 video cameras and do multi-camera shoot that way.
Microphones aren't nearly as big a deal to get in. That's pretty easy. But I wanted to go back to the mimoCam app that you mentioned. Is that just video, or is that also streaming audio from the mimoCam as well?
You got me there. I don't actually know. I think we wanted it to be audio as well. I'm not sure if we got it done. Yeah, I think it should do audio. Because if you do a screen record, basically Apple designed that for screen recording, so that you can do like a screencast for an iPhone app or an iPad app. on your Mac, and we use that capability. And so also that, of course, it does also audio, but I'm not sure actually what the state of that is. mimoCam is currently being reviewed by Apple for hopefully inclusion in the App Store, so we can actually distribute it. We have a beta program. If someone wants to join, they go to Boinx.com and search for mimoCam, or go to Google and search for mimoCam, and the beta program sign-up form will show up, and you can just sign up, and we'll add you to the beta test, and hopefully Apple will approve it soon, and then we can open it up for everybody.
Oliver, I'm a little hung up on getting all the cameras in, but there's nothing that says that you can't have already pre-recorded video or other graphic assets and pull those into your live broadcast. And I'm not sure there'd be a point in having a limit, because there's only so much stuff you could pull in at any time. But that's a pretty effective way to almost, I don't want to say trick it, but that's what the major TV networks all use. A lot of the time that you don't realize they're using it, it's pre-recorded stuff that they just pull in, and the announcer says, okay, over to you, Oliver, and oh, thanks, Chuck, and they keep on rolling. So
yes, absolutely. You can play almost any video format, and one of the cool things about mimoLive in this regard is we have we define the output format, and you can put in HD, SD, video, 25 frames, 30 frames, 4 colors, whatever you have, and play it, and it will be just scaled. Oh, sorry. Will be scaled. Yeah, I pressed the wrong button here. It will be scaled to this. You can define the area where it should be shown on the screen. You can have 2-ups, 3-ups. 3D projections, whatever. I mean, mimoLive is very, very powerful. Regarding the graphics capabilities, we can do charts, we can do weather maps, we can you saw the clouds, we can do filters on cameras. I can crop and rotate and scale to your heart's content. We can do portrait video. So many, professional video people. What is the English word for that? They frown on portrait video, but a lot of people watch it. Watch their video this way. I shouldn't show my private stuff. A lot of people shoot and watch video holding the iPhone this way, and mimoLive is a great tool to actually produce video for that format. We've added 360-degree live streaming with YouTube, so you can hook up a Theta S camera, 360-degree camera, and do 360 streaming, and we can put like a presentation in the virtual space next to you, or the lower thirds in 3D space, and it looks just like I should probably put the keyboard away. So yeah, and then you stream it to YouTube, and people can watch in 360 degrees and VR. And mimoLive is very powerful in that regard, because we can do all that stuff. We can bring in a Twitter feed. We can grab stuff off the screen. So if you have an app that outputs something on the screen, we can grab that and put that into mimoLive and into the production, bring it in. If you run a PowerPoint, we often go to events and record presentations, and people have their PowerPoints, and then we can do this. If you see the Apple keynotes where they have the speaker on the side and the slide show right next to him, we do have an auto follow layer. So if I want, I can turn that on and make sure that I stay in the center of the video. I can just let me see if I can do that face tracking. Yeah. So, oops, is it turned on? Is it on?
It was tracking.
Yeah. So I don't move the camera. You notice that? But the camera tries to keep my face in the center. I don't actually move the camera. Spooky.
And there's nobody hiding behind the curtain.
No, there's nobody hiding behind the camera. The Mac doesn't move at all. So this is a very interesting feature. For example, that's very hard to understand because so if I turn it off and move around, then the camera just stays where it is. All kinds of cool things. Too much, actually, maybe.
You can never have too much all over.
Well, you can have hours and hours and hours of fun playing with this.
Well, yeah, there is we're back to the toy thing. The toy thing keeps coming up.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
did you see the Matrix effect? Let me see if I can. Do I find where is it? ASCII art. I think that's the Matrix effect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like that.
Oliver, I want to ask one quick question, then we'll get into something in a little more depth. We've been laughing, of course. You've been hitting a key on the keyboard, and it's triggering your lower third. Now, are you triggering it? Does it just tap once, comes on, stays on, then goes off, or are you tapping it on and off?
You can actually configure that to your heart's content. We also you can also use an iPad app. It used to be called Actions. I'm not sure what it's called now. Sorry about that. That sort of mimics keystrokes on. So you see a control surface on your iPad with buttons, and if you press a button on your iPad, it actually does a keystroke on your Mac, and so you can toggle stuff in mimoLive. So you can actually build a control surface on the iPad to run your show remotely from via Wi-Fi.
I love the fact that you can configure so many control surfaces for different apps now with your iPhone or your iPad. Back in the days when you had to have everything hardwired, it was prohibitively expensive. You couldn't do it. But now in software, it's a piece of cake. Yeah. Go back to the 360 video and the Theta S camera. So you can stream that. You can stream it live to YouTube Live, and the 360 experience is there. And also then in the subsequent recording on YouTube, the 360 experience is still there. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Is that something you've played with a lot? Because we're hearing more and more about 360, and I think there are a lot of folks out there that are confused. Honestly, I think I'm just starting to get it a little bit, trying to figure out what its use cases are, but at least I'm understanding why I would want to do it in certain circumstances.
So I think that's a very valid question to ask, and I think we are enabling this technology. We don't tell people how to use it. So I think yes, you're right. People need to figure out what to actually use it for. So we used it here in our company. We live streamed when we were watching the WWDC keynote. So it's sort of like it's experimental, of course. We thought we might want to give customers a chance to join us, virtually through the net, and not just give them a tiny view, tiny part of the picture, but give them like the whole 360 degrees. There's an additional degree of being there if you use it. It's more immersive than just the camera point of view that the director chooses for you. I recently met a couple of educators, teachers who were playing around with 360 degrees and were very excited. And I don't know why. It's maybe, the kids. It's something to keep the kids interested and take them to places where they can explore. And maybe it's the early days of that medium, and people have to figure out what to use it for and how to use it, what the rules are going to be for editing, for cameras, for movements, whatever. From our point of view, it's just cool that we can provide the technology so people can start playing with it. And that's why we did that.
Yeah, I can give you a dozen reasons why I question it, but I can also probably give you a dozen reasons that I at some point I want to try it with certain things. I'm not sure that you and I often see each other at CES, or we used to see each other at Macworld. So I'm not sure that there's going to be a real benefit to me shooting a 360-degree video of an interview with you, because I want you to be the center of attention, not the guy in the booth behind you who, if, I mean...
He's making faces.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not going to be mic'd.
Yeah,
he's not going to be mic'd for the sound. So Mike Horton and I just had a discussion about this in preparation for the Amsterdam Super Meet, about how audio is going to play such a big part in directing your attention to the right part of the scene. And I know I've thought of several examples since then that, if we were doing 360 now and there's a crash over in that room, that's where my attention's going to go, because it's going to sort of force me there. And the dimensional sound is going to be a critical part of this. So that you're right, it's early days, and I think it's exciting and fun to play with. It's one of those things that you just got to figure out how it's going to fit into what it is that you want to communicate.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, we are, we are as excited to see our customers come up with interesting things, and we just hope that the tools we give them enables them to do cool stuff.
Yeah. All right. Listen, your tools are always enablers. I think one of your, I don't know if that's fair to say. I don't know if one of your largest audiences is the educational market, but certainly it's a significant audience, because I hear about educators all the time using Boinx programs to do interesting and cool things with their kids that it would at the very least, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to do otherwise. So, I think that's a great service. If you don't do anything else, the fact that you're enabling these kids to experiment and learn and grow is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, thank you. That's one of the things that keeps us going. Seeing what cool stuff the kids are doing with our apps, we take great care making sure that they stay easy to use, and we probably don't have, at least the kids don't have to read the manual. You just go, you just can get going and figure it out.
Yeah. So let's talk about the specifics of mimoLive. What kind of pricing do we have for it? Are there multiple levels, or is it just one price? How's that all working?
Okay, so we do have 3 tiers, actually 4, but 2 of them are priced the same. So we have the lowest tier is like if you use mimoLive for private, your own private podcast, or, you want to change the world from your living room. And that is about $200 a year. Also, the same price goes for education. We think that schools benefit greatly from using mimoLive, and we want to give them the chance to do so in an economic way. So the same price as for private use. Then we have the commercial tier, which means if you make money with your production, then we'll ask you to go to the commercial tier, which is about 700 US dollars a year. And there's also a broadcast tier, which is for customers who need customization, who need training, and who need a higher level of service with a guaranteed response time and access to the engineering department to figure out problems. And that is about 3,500, I think, a year. Or is it 1,900 or something? You can go to the website, boinx.com/mimoLive, and they have we have all the nitty-bitty details there. Technology-wise, those three tiers are almost identical. The only difference between the education and the private and the commercial version is if you use SDI playout, then the SDI signal for the commercial version gives you two separate signals for key and fill, so you can do transparency, which is not included in the private and education tier.
Oliver, something I should have asked you almost from the beginning, and I'm sorry, but and then something reminded me in the middle. What resolution are we streaming out at from mimoLive? 1920 or?
You can whatever your internet line can take. I mean, we can do 320 by 200 the same as 4K.
Wow.
Or 360 degrees is a little bit an interesting format because it's 2:1 aspect ratio. We can do 4:3. We can do 19:6, 16:9. We can do 24:10. Whatever you need, and whatever your streaming provider can ingest. And there's a lot of parameters that you can actually set, like frame rate, resolution, compression rate, data rates, and that kind of thing. And we try to hide that as much as possible and use the sensible values whenever So for example, streaming to Facebook or YouTube Live is just zero setup. You just log into your YouTube account or your Facebook account, and you basically start streaming.
Got it. And I have to, I would not be doing my job if I didn't just touch on the fact that you've chosen a subscription model for this, which frankly I like because it's going to assure you have the funding to keep developing it and keep evolving it. And heaven knows if there's one product category that needs to be kept up and evolve, it's any kind of video production. So I applaud you for that. Are you getting any kickback or feedback from that in the positive or negative direction?
Both, actually. So there are people who don't like it, and there are people who say, I can see where this is going. We have released a lot of stuff since we shipped 2.0, which wouldn't be possible if we had to hold it back for the next major release. For example, we now have playlists, so you can if you do a live stream and you have like a run up to the session's gonna start at 10 and you want to start streaming at 9:30, you can just play, a playlist, or you can have a playlist of your sponsor messages and just play them one after another, and you don't have to edit them together, and kind of like that stuff, And that's something that's in beta right now, in the current beta version. And in the old business model, this wouldn't be available before 2018 or something, because we have to, we would have to, hold back the big new things for the next major release. And so now we can keep adding stuff as we go along, and what we think is cool at the time, and not worry about having to do a major upgrade next year. There's always going to be new stuff we can add, things we can improve, and of course maybe right now we are moving at a very fast pace. Maybe we're going to slow down a little bit further down the line, but I think that, we still have a lot of ideas that we're going to bring into the product and blow people's mind away.
Yeah, I think all of us need to start thinking about some of the subscription models for certain kinds of software a bit differently. And especially what you've done sort of, I think, proves it, that you've just kept this nice steady stream up, almost an unsustainable stream of new features since this came out. You and I have been trying to get together to talk about this since the product launch in April, and I think other than scheduling, the comments were always, well, we have this one more thing to add, and then we'll talk about it. And then we have this one more thing to add, and then we'll talk about it. So, the problem's going to come for those.
So we could actually do one program every 2 weeks or so, talk about the new stuff that's coming.
Yeah, well, and that's sort of the point. I think the challenge is going to come for those companies that opt for a subscription model, and then either are not adding anything of value or are not adding anything at all. Then there's going to be a kickback. But also one of the other things is that the customers expect Apple's going to ship 10.12 in a couple of weeks, and customers expect us to upgrade everything and move along with it, and the apps should work there. But they don't want to pay another, upgrade fee. And that's like, buying a car and expecting a free refill along the way, and a free upgrade to the next year's model. And that's not sustainable. On the other hand, I understand people who say, I don't want to change anything. I just set up the system once, and then I want to run it like 5 or 6 years, and don't upgrade the operating system, don't upgrade the app, and whatever. Then their computer breaks down. They have to replace it. They won't get a new one, with the same operating system. Apple doesn't sell new computers with old operating systems, and so then they have to upgrade, and they don't think about this kind of thing. They just assume that yes, they're going to use that for 2 or 3 years, and then whatever comes next. And actually, we offer the subscription in 1 month, 1 year, or 3 year category. So if you work in an environment where you have to get funding for the project, and you set up something, and you set up a studio, and then you can now purchase the 3-year license and pay up front, and then have the system work for 3 years. At which time you probably want to upgrade or replace it anyway, so that kind of thing works for those people as well. Yeah, there's so many considerations to those things, and I don't mean to get off too far into the weeds in this, but there are a lot of considerations in every direction, and I think the best thing folks can do is they have to evaluate the product and its usefulness to them, but they also have to crawl over into the other person's shoes for a second and figure out, what is not a money grab. It's a matter of paying the bills for what you're using, just like in our country, cable TV and internet access, you don't buy that once and have it just keep on going. You have to subscribe to it, and so it power, gas, water, there's
everything.
Yeah, there's so many things. So if you think about it like that, and the upgrades, we try to draw all these analogies for cars and gas grills and ovens and everything, and they don't always work because software is just a little bit different animal. But yeah. I think it's great that you all are doing that, and then you're delivering on the subscription model by adding features. Good job. Good job.
Thank you. I think we are on a very good trajectory here, and I can see us running out of ideas or challenges. I think when we worked on BoinxTV we shipped it in 2009, and it was on, we were shipping, I think, 40 upgrades or 40 updates or something over time until we came to mimoLive, and it kept getting more stable, more powerful, more performant, and that's also gonna happen to mimoLive. And if we have a business model where people keep on paying for using it, then we can actually afford to do all the optimization. And there's a lot of apps on the App Store right now that don't get any love from their developers anymore because nobody's going to pay. Nobody's paying for it, and they work okay, but they are not getting better. They're not getting more stable. They're not getting faster, and they eventually will fall in disrepair and not work anymore. And I think users need to realize that it costs a lot of money to keep an app maintained, and it costs a lot of time. Apps do age, even if you don't. Actually, it's quite hard to put your mind around that, wrap your mind around that idea. But if you try to run an app that's 10 years old on a current OS and a current Macintosh, chances are very good that it's not going to work if the developer didn't keep it in shape, and that's something the user will have to pay for. And there's often this argument that Apple is giving away the updates for free, and that's not true, because they make the money when you buy a new Mac and a new iPhone and a new iPad, and of course they can give away iOS 10. It doesn't run on all the iPhones anymore. It doesn't run on all the iPads anymore. And if you want to run it, you have to have a current iPad or iPhone. And if you have an old one, you have to buy a new one, and that's the upgrade fee you pay for the software, actually. And most people don't realize that it's just a tricky, or let's say a clever package. If you buy a new Mac, you get the new OS. If you have 6 other Macs, one is 10 years old, then it won't run the new software anymore. You can't communicate with the current Mac. You can't share contacts. You can't share this and that. And you have to upgrade the computer, and you have to always keep the newest computers around, and that's their strategy. And the operating system upgrade sort of forces people also to upgrade the hardware eventually.
And there's some good reasons for it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you get better performance. Well, not just from their perspective, but from ours as the users, because you get better performance. You are doing new things that you couldn't do that 3, 5, 7 years ago. And unfortunately, now we have the issue of security and safety.
Yes, absolutely.
And those are huge issues if you're running old Macs. If you're running those old Macs, you got to be careful. You got to be real careful.
So I have yet to come to meet a user that doesn't want the new stuff. I think there's a couple of people who are afraid to touch their systems because they think something might break, but they still want to deep down, So if you assure them it doesn't break, then most of them are, okay, then I do it.
Yep. Yep. Oliver, where do we send folks to learn more about mimoLive and see if they want to get into live video production?
So you can download a trial version from our website, boinx.com/mimoLive, and then there's a menu on the side that takes you to downloads and version history, and you can get the most recent version there and download it to your Mac. It's a very small download. It's very surprisingly small. For what it does, it's a very powerful package, but it's very small. Just about 40 megabytes, I think.
Wow.
And So it's a quick download, a couple of seconds, and you can get going and try and play around with it and hopefully enjoy it.
Well, we really appreciate you talking about it in so much depth and going off, and of course, into the subscription thing as well. It's always good to get all those perspectives and to hear about software from the guys that are actually writing it and find out what the intent is. So, and I know this is not your last trip here, because I know that you're always working on something. At the very least, it'll be an upgrade to mimoLive, right? So.
Yeah, so two things we're working right now on for mimoLive. One is call in. So the idea is that you can have a reporter using an iPhone or like we do right now via Skype. We can do that in mimoLive by just adding a camera and then sending you a link, and you click on that, and suddenly your webcam is a remote camera for mimoLive, or your iPhone camera or your iPad camera. That is one of the things we're working on. The other thing is we are adding an API that allows people to control mimoLive through HTTP requests, and I think it will be very interesting to see how people use that and what they come up with to do all kinds of integrations with devices or scripts or whatever, and that's going to be fun to see.
So, in other words, you'll be back soon.
Anytime. Anytime you need someone to talk to, I'm here.
All right. You got it. It's great to see you, Oliver. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Take care. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Okay, now we have to go and try out mimoLive as something else, although I love my post-production, but Oliver may convince me to go another direction. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes, links to subscribe, and to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, the MacVoices blog, the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter, and on MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard that helps you do more with your Apple tech. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com, bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.